What's up, everybody? I'm Meghan McKeown.
And I'm Joe McKeown.
And this is Fuller 30.
A look back at the NCAA tournament, some of the legendary stories and people behind it.
Today we have a very special guest, one of the all-time winningest coaches in basketball. She's been to 12 Final Fours, has won 2 national championships, and has more than 1,000 wins. The legendary Stanford head women's basketball coach, Tara VanDerveer. How difficult is it to get to the Final Four, first and foremost?
Since you want stories, when I was at Ohio State, the furthest that we had great teams at Ohio State. We got to the Elite Eight. And back in the day, the Elite Eight games were the 4 games that were on television. There were 4 games, the Elite Eight on ESPN, and then the Final Four, the semifinal and final games were on like CBS. But when I came out to Stanford, this was before everyone had, cable and dish and satellite and everything. The only place you could get the games were at the gym. So my brother had come out to visit me. So I went to the gym. It was a Saturday, and I was just absolutely just obsessed with watching these games. But my brother, he wanted to play, so I gave him a ball, and he's out there running around in the gym. And I would come out after the game. I go, someday we're going to be in this game. We're going to be in this game, And he's like, yeah, our team was not anywhere close to being in this game. But I just remember watching these games and just being like, we're going to do this someday. And just being really just to get into the Elite Eight game to then take you to the Final Four. Well, we at Stanford, our first recruit at Stanford was Katie Stedding. And then in the same class was Jennifer Acey, 2 Olympians. And Jennifer was Player of the Year. But that particular team, we lost one game at Washington. And we lost up there. They had a very good team, but we lost. We had flown in. We were playing Washington State first. And we flew into Spokane, and we got stranded driving down to the game in a snowstorm. So basically we had the whole team, coaches, everybody had to go to a high school, and they pulled out mats and blankets from the jail. So we slept in their high school that night. No. We beat Washington State, but then we didn't beat Washington. But then that team went on, we hosted, and we were playing in Maples, which you said you knew. It was played in the 1990 season. If you were to look back, we always played the team that wasn't supposed to win. So we were always the game that they were excited to be in, but they weren't expecting to be in. So we beat this team in the semifinals, and I just remember going in the locker room just being really mad, just like we played poorly. And I told everybody, all right, you want to go home? You want to go on spring vacation? You want to go to Hawaii? Pack your stuff, because there's no way we're going to the Final Four. And the Final Four was in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where Jennifer Acey was from. Hey, she was from Oak Ridge. And in Jennifer's freshman year, we had a 500 team. And obviously her senior year, then we won a national championship. But I ranted and went on, and when I came in for the next game, we were playing Arkansas, which had a dynamite team. They were fantastic. And in this, the gentleman, the ushers at our game, they're called Redcoats, handed me like a little yellow piece of paper, from a legal pad. And on it was a note from Jennifer Acey that said, Tara, relax, this one's for you. And we had the game of ages. I mean, we had like I want to say an 8-point play where we came down, hit a 3, got fouled, took the ball out, hit another 3, got fouled underneath, and made 2 more, free throws. We scored over 120 points. I mean, it was just a fantastic game. And in the old days, Maple's floor was bouncy. So, our team was dancing, the band is playing. It went on until 4 a.m. It was just unbelievable. You were so wired, you couldn't even go to sleep anyways. So now we're going to go to the Final Four the very first time. And Joe remembers this, but back in the old days, only a couple teams ever went to the Final Four. Before Stanford went, there'd only been 9 teams that had gone. It was Louisiana Tech, Tennessee, Maryland. You could the same old teams, yet went all the time. Yeah. Texas. So we were going to be the new kid at the game. And I remember, we're playing, Louisiana Tech was the favorite. They were ranked number 1 coming in. I think they were undefeated, actually. And we were there. And Stanford was like the new kid on the block. And, out west, nobody cared about Stanford, But when we got there, I looked at the Thompson Bowling Arena. And I just said to myself, we might not ever come back. While we're here, let's win it. Let's win it. So that's our first game was against Virginia with Dawn Staley, and we had that was a very tough game, but we ended up winning that game. And I remember going to the scouting seats and sitting down, and these guys, they didn't know me from Adam, and they're talking behind the coaches, and they're like, okay, that was the JV game. Now let's see the varsity game, and it was Auburn, Louisiana Tech. Right. And so Auburn upset, just as every team like Virginia had upset Tennessee to get to the Final Four. Right. And now Auburn upset Louisiana Tech to get to the championship game. And it was, it was just an awesome game. They had a tremendous team, and we're really, really excited to win. And after the game, we went out to Jennifer Azzi's house, and the band came, and I was playing the drums,
You were a pioneer in our game too, and you talked about going to Tennessee and the relationship. We had a special relationship with Pat Summitt, but I know your games and just the things that you and her did for our sport and basketball. Could you talk about that relationship a little bit?
I'll tell you 2 things. One, I probably owe her the second national championship, because in 1991-92, we had a team, and our point guard, Jennifer had graduated, Sonia Henning, 2 All-Americans had graduated, and our starting point guard was Molly Goodenbauer. So the first day of practice, the 91-92 season, Molly had been basically come off the bench, and sometimes we were up 30, and then she'd come in for 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and it was a 10-point game. She could she just wasn't ready, but I really respect her, because she's one of these kids now that, a lot of these kids now would just like transfer and be done. Molly stuck it out. She worked really hard. So now the very first day of practice, she had a way to come down the court and she'd throw a one-hand pass. She's running the point, throw that one-hand pass. It hits me on the sideline. So after practice, I go back to the office, and I called my sister Heidi, who is a basketball coach. And Heidi says, "How was practice?" And I go, "Oh, it was great. It's fine." And, I said, "We can do it." And so Heidi goes, "You can do it." I go, "Yeah, we can win it." So she said, "Well, let me talk to Amy, my assistant coach." And so Amy gets on, and Heidi goes, "How was practice?" Amy goes, "It was horrible. We are terrible. We're going to be lucky to be 500. And Heidi says to Amy, "Well, Tara said you can win it." And Amy goes, "Tara is on drugs." But we did end up going, obviously we beat a lot of really, really good teams. We ended up beating Cheryl Swoop's team with Texas Tech, USC, I think, with Lisa Leslie. I mean, we beat great teams, and the Final Four was in LA. And so a couple of things happened. Like it was where these were back-to-back games. So you played Friday, Sunday instead of the day in between. And that was good for us in that we had a running team, and Molly was great at pushing the tempo, and teams would just lose their legs in the second half against her. But we're going to the game, and I don't know, this. I learned this with the national team actually, but always bring 2 sets of uniforms to the gym. Right. We're getting to the gym. We're pulling up to the the arena, the sports arena in LA. And you have to take an escalator. And, I had said like 3 or 4 times to, my assistant, I said, what color are we wearing? We're wearing white. I'm like, we shouldn't be wearing white. We're the lower seed or whatever. So anyways, yes, we're wearing white. So we get there, and I see the other team wearing the same color uniform. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. Well, in fact, they were in trouble. We had both uniforms, but they were in trouble, and they had to go back and it was Western Kentucky.
Right, right.
They had to go back and get their uniforms from the gym. And I mean, that just shakes you up as a player and a coach. And, you're rattled to begin with. But the pregame talk that I gave to our team, was Tennessee had lost to Western Kentucky. And I had spoken to Pat about playing Western Kentucky. And she had just, she'd shared some very valuable insight. But then I kind of expanded on that with our team. And I'm like, well, Coach Summitt said, Rachel Hemmer, you're going to have just this great game rebounding. And Chris McMurdo, you're going to do this. And Molly Goodenbauer, you could do this. And it was like when she put her stamp on that, now I fudged it. I really exaggerated a lot of it, but it's kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe it, it will happen. And don't those people went out and did exactly what I told them Pat said they could do. Now I made that up, but I do owe her one for that national championship. And then the other, I think, Coach Summitt's story, I mean, we had a lot of them, but toward the end of her career, I think it was her last game playing Stanford. We always played Tennessee.
Right.
We started doing that for Jennifer Azzi. And I mean, Tennessee blasted us. And then we beat them. The years that we beat them, we won national championships. So it was, it was a great thing for us early on. It was a great measuring stick. But they got the better of us for sure. And then we went to Knoxville, and before the game, it's all orange in there, and it's a huge arena. Fans are coming out, and Pat likes to make an entrance.
Yeah.
She liked to come out and come down the bench and say hi to everybody. And so she did this, and she's coming out, and you're trying to get excited about the game. You were trying to think about beating them. You want to get fired up, and so she comes over to me, and we're talking, and I said, Pat, look at all these fans. This is just great. Look what you've built. And this is when there were things going on for her health. And I just said, it has to be something you're really, really proud of. And she turned to me, and she looked like right at me. This is right before the game, and she goes, Tara, I love you. And I'm like, how can you be fired up? You want to beat somebody. And, it was, but it really, we had a great relationship, great friendship. And, all of our sport and all of our coaches really missed her tremendously. But, I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to get to know her the way I did and to coach against her. They would find ways to win. And I also coached a lot of her players who were extremely loyal to her, and were great players that I really enjoyed coaching.
We played, and the men played UNLV. Remember how good UNLV and Tark were
Yeah,
back?
I do.
They played LSU and Shaq, and it was a triple header, and the game was sold out. And our game, your game with us, came down to the last shot, and we missed a three, and the refs ran off the court. You fouled us. I always remember this. And
You got to call it.
I said they wouldn't let the game go to overtime because UNLV was playing Shaq, and Shaq came running on the floor, almost ran me over. And I was like, that was the hardest loss we had. We ended up ranked 6th in the country because of you beating us at the buzzer. And that was like the best loss we ever had, And I always remember.
That was a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, that was obviously won a national championship. I don't think we weren't picked to win it, but that was a good team.
Right. And Cheryl Reeve, who coaches the Minnesota Lynx, Coach Ray, she was my assistant. And we always laugh. Because, you tell stories, coaching stories. Cheryl and I and your staff were just kind of stuck in the back trying to get out. And you said to me and her, you guys played really good. Why don't we trade scouting reports?
Yeah.
And I looked at Cheryl, like we had like one page scribbled, of Stanford. And I'm thinking, man, you guys had like a book, of what we were going to do. So it kind of inspired us too. I always laugh about that, Cheryl and I too. So.
Well, I like to exchange scouting reports with like non-conference people that you're not going to play very often, just to see kind of, how people want to defend you, what they want to do. So I'm kind of I still do that, and it's fun, and I think it's good for sometimes your players to see those.
It's great for your team, right?
Yeah.
One game that I coached against you, that you probably wouldn't remember, because we actually took the lead, was at GW, but you were coaching the USA team. And remember, and we took the lead and the power went out. And I kind of looked around like, we're up. Maybe we should just, we had it sold out. You did it. I mean, and we put the power back in. You went on like a 32-3 run.
Well, that team could do that, Joe.
Yeah. But I had the lead against you. I always remember that. And I should have just framed the scoreboard at the time. But Coach, one thing that you did, which I remember obviously because we played that. You were great about taking the USA team all over the country, but you gave up your time at Stanford to do that too. I wonder if people don't realize that you committed to USA basketball and took off a year. I'd love to hear your stories on that or your thought process.
Well, this was before there was the WNBA. Back in the 90s, late 80s, I was really, I loved international basketball. Like in 1988, we took our Stanford team to China, and I learned a lot. And it was a in fact, we went to Wuhan.
No.
Yeah. And it doesn't look anything, I remembered it doesn't look anything now the way it did then. But, so I really liked the international game, and I'd had a lot of opportunities to coach the USA, I call them the baby teams, not the number one team, but the younger teams, so the world we went to the world championship. That was with the number one team, but the Goodwill games, the university games, and it was really fun. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. But when we lost in the Barcelona 1992 Olympics, then the plan became, hey, we're going to win this one, and this is how we're going to do it. So I had to resign from Stanford, and basically, and it was really hard because I love coaching the Stanford team, but it was almost like a professor getting a sabbatical. It was a once in a lifetime experience, which I loved, and I had the opportunity to travel all over the world with great players: Dawn Staley, Lisa Leslie, Ruthie Bolton, Teresa Edwards, Katrina McLean. I mean, these are all just incredible. Jennifer Azzi, Cheryl Swoops, Carla McGee. I mean, this team, Rebecca Lobo, this team was loaded. And when we played the college teams, basically what I told them was, well, first of all, we trained a little bit in Colorado Springs, but not a lot. We started in October, and we trained up at altitude. And we did what I did with our team. We did a 2-mile run. And the day we did it was 40 degrees and about 40-mile-an-hour winds, and kind of it could be raining or snowing any minute. And Dawn Staley said to me, as we're walking up to the track, "We're not going to do this today, are we?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, we are. This is when I'll really learn a lot about people." And the whole kind of the year of training, it was a good thing the Olympics happened when they happened, because it was intense. There was a lot of pressure on this team to win a gold medal, and everywhere we went, whether it was the White House or, the Supreme Court justices, they're like, win a gold medal.
To pick, Coach, do you want a minute or a 30-second timeout here of our rapid fire questioning?
I guess 30 seconds. Let's get right to it.
Best restaurant in the Bay Area?
I don't eat out very often, but I'd say, let's see, Tara's.
Favorite restaurant in Minnesota? Favorite fish in Minnesota? You and I go.
Oh, you got to go with a walleye. But again, I don't. When I'm in Minnesota, I don't eat out. So I'm doing the fish fry.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I like that.
Best Final Four city.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm gonna say Knoxville and LA. Wherever you win is good.
There you go. Go ahead, last one.
Okay, and you talked about both best performance, and I know you're a Pac-10, Pac-12 person.
Hmm.
Best performance in an NCAA Final Four: Bill Walton, Cheryl Swoops.
Oh, Cheryl Swoops was phenomenal. I think individual performance, I'd have to go with Cheryl Swoops for sure. So, Bill's great, but Cheryl, what, 47 points?
Right, 47.
Yeah. Cheryl's phenomenal.
Hi, this is Allie McKeown, Executive Producer of Fuller 30. Thank you for watching this today. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to follow us on @Fuller30 on Instagram. Thank you.